Hello and welcome back to another episode of Just Pop It. My name is Kyle, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how to find cheap campsites for your pop-up. Tuning in to another video, and in today's video I want to talk about how expensive campsites have gotten over the years. Camping used to be the budget-friendly way of vacationing, but it doesn't seem to be that way necessarily anymore. But there are still ways to find cheap campsites, and that's what I want to share with you guys today. So I'm going to go through some different levels and types of places that you can camp and kind of compare all of those to one another. So I'm going to start with RV resorts. So RV resorts is what they're commonly called. They're essentially glorified parking lots, and you'll normally find those really big rigs parked there, Class A motorhomes. They are still great places to stay if you're traveling across country and you just need a spot to stay. And there's no shade in these places. The amenities are always great. They always have clean bathrooms and full hookups, but they're just way overpriced. And it's just not the type of camping that we enjoy. So we typically love to connect with nature, and these RV resorts, again, most of the time they're just a glorified parking lot. And I don't mean to talk bad about them. They're still a great place to stay, and there is a place for that. It's just not necessarily our vibe of camping that we like to enjoy. So we typically stay away from those RV resorts. They're usually way overpriced anyway, between $100 to $150 a night. And again, they usually target the Class A motorhome type people, but that's a little bit out of our budget, so that's why we stay away from those. So the next type of campground that I want to talk about are privately owned campgrounds, and we do enjoy privately owned campgrounds. They're typically not as expensive as those RV resorts, but they are a little higher. We've stayed in some, and the range is anywhere between $75 a night to $100 a night. And that's still expensive, I think, when it comes to camping, but that's just the reality of what campgrounds charge these days. So these privately owned campgrounds, we stayed in a couple of them. Romestead Campground near Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's one of the nicest campgrounds that I've ever seen. We have a trip coming up for Halloween that we're going to stay, and we're really looking forward to that trip. Another privately owned campground is River Falls at the Gorge, and this is up in the North Georgia mountains near Clayton, Georgia. Again, it's a privately owned campground, but it's very nice. It's right on the river. Most of the campsites are right on the river. The campsites are a little close together, but it's set up to where your living space, your camp space, is behind your travel trailer. So that way you get to just enjoy the nice view of the river. You can stick your feet in, you can go tubing. So that's an example of a privately owned campground. Although they are a little more expensive than what we would like to be spending, this particular one is anywhere between $75 to $85 a night. We're willing to spend that because of the amenities. They do have a private pool there, they have a clubhouse, but the river and the connecting to nature and being able to float that river is what brings us to that place. For some people, they would still consider that an expensive place to camp. I'm going to go through different levels of pricing in all of these places, and I'm getting to the cheap stuff, so just hang in there with me. And that brings me into my next level of campsites, and that is national forest, which is what we typically camp in. National forests are wonderful. They are, at least the ones around our area, they usually charge $35 to $38 a night, which is fantastic. I think that's a great deal for a campsite. The national forest around this area that I live in, they're normally on lakes, they're normally on rivers, they're in national forests, so you're able to connect with nature. Excellent hiking trails, excellent access to water, and again, just connecting with nature is the main draw to staying in a national forest. along with the cheaper prices. Sometimes these national forest campgrounds are called recreation areas, so you can find them that way too. But go to recreation.org, and that's where we do all of our reservations. So they usually have photos of each individual campsite that you can click on just to see how shady it is or how much sun it gets. We camp in a pop-up camper, so naturally we look for shade. There's no insulation in the canvas in these things, so we don't want to camp in full sun. One thing I like about reserving campsites on recreation.org is that they do have photos of each of their campsites. So we like to look at that, and it even says in the details whether it's full sun, full shade, or partial shade. But national forests are usually very wild, and they're older too. At least the ones that we have camped in, the national forest campgrounds are older. There's not a lot of funding that they put into these places. They are nice, they are upkept very well, but the bathrooms are usually older. They do have hot water running, showers and toilets and things like that, but they are typically older. But we don't mind that. It allows us to connect with nature, and again, that's what we love, and that's how we camp. So next I want to talk about state parks. We live here in Alabama, and we have a lot of state parks that we stay in, and then we're neighboring Georgia. So we camp out a lot in the North Georgia mountains. They have two specifically really nice state parks, Black Rock Mountain State Park, and another one that's really close to that. I forgot the name of it. There's a big gorge there. I think it's Little Gorge State Park. Oh gosh, I wish I could remember the name of that. But there are two very nice state parks with excellent camping. And that is also where that privately owned campground that I mentioned earlier is at, River Falls at the Gorge. But state parks are usually very cheap, $30 to $35 a night. So that's the way to go. You can save a lot of money by camping at a state park. Florida also has excellent prices on their state parks as well. Now, pricing is based on waterfront, especially if you're talking about Florida state parks. So if you want a waterfront or a Gulf front campsite, they're naturally going to charge more for that. Gulf front is always going to be more expensive. Gulf view will be your next price level. So if you're looking to save money, which is what this video is all about, I would suggest looking at those interior campsites. You still have access through trails and walking paths to get to the Gulf, to get to the waterfront. But if you're looking to save some money, don't necessarily reserve those Gulf view and Gulf front properties. Look for those interior sites. And the same goes for those mountain views and mountainside campsites. So naturally, if you are on the edge of a cliff and you have a beautiful mountain view at your campsite, they're probably going to charge more of a premium price for those sites. So look for those interior campgrounds. But state parks is the way to go. Recreation areas, natural forests, and state parks is where you can really save the most money when you're reserving campsites. Go to recreation.org and reserve those sites, or just go to each individual state and look through their state parks and reserve through those state park websites. Now next I want to talk about national parks. National parks are still very affordable, and those are naturally our most beautiful places in our country to visit. But although you can save money by camping in national parks, they are a bit older. The national parks that I've visited don't have nice showers. They have running water, they have toilets, they have sinks, but not a lot of them have showers in those national park campgrounds. So when our pop-up, we don't have a bathroom. So we have to reserve those sites that have running water and hot water for showers. So we do love staying in those national parks, but a lot of times we can find a spot right outside of a national park that does have those amenities that we need in order to survive a few days on the road in our pop-up. We do have a 10-gallon fresh water tank in this with a sink, so we're able to clean up and wash our face, wash our hands, and brush our teeth, but we don't have a shower in this, so we do like to have those amenities of having a shower whenever we camp. So just do your research before reserving these sites and look at photos online. Read Google reviews. There's a lot of information out there when reserving your campsites. A lot of people have put this information out there on Google, and you can easily find it. And some people go ahead and tag their favorite campsites in each individual campgrounds. So just do a little research and take some time and find those nice affordable campsites. And I want to mention 2 apps specifically that are great for finding free or cheap campsites. One is The Dirt. It's an app that you can download. They also have a website for finding cheap or free campsites. So that's DYRT, The Dirt. And the other one is iOverlander, and that's an app that you can download from the App Store. Both of those sites are great, or the apps are great at finding free dispersed campsites in your area. So tips on saving money at each of these places, just do your research and reserve those more inland sites if you're staying on the Gulf, and the interior sites if you're staying in those state parks and recreation areas. That'll save you a lot of money. Now, it is worth mentioning the BLM land. Those are free. Now, here in Alabama, we don't have a lot of those BLM land sites and places to camp at for free, but it is worth mentioning, since this is a video about saving money, if you do live in a part of the country where you do have some of that BLM land, go ahead and check it out. It's a free place to camp, and a lot of times it has a beautiful view. You can park on a forest road, and sometimes there are nice creeks on those roads. So just look into that. If you have some free dispersed campsites along those BLM roads, that's worth checking out. And consider skipping those more popular, busy campgrounds. If you like connecting with nature, find some of those more wooded campsites away from touristy areas. Those are naturally cheaper and less crowded, and you're able to relax a little bit more that way. So I hope these tips have helped you. If you found value in this video, please hit the like button, and I thank you so much for watching.